Allah is enough for us, and He is the best disposer of all affairs. These are not just words. They are not a slogan. They are not something we say casually. They are a declaration of faith. They are a statement of surrender. They are a confession of human weakness and divine perfection. When a believer truly understands these words, their heart begins to settle, their mind begins to quiet, and their soul begins to find peace, not because the problem disappears immediately, but because trust is placed in the one who controls all outcomes. Subhanallah, from the mercy of Allah, is that He taught us du'a. He taught us how to speak to Him when our hearts feel heavy, when our thoughts overwhelm us, and when the road ahead feels unclear. Among the most powerful supplications are those that combine two things: complete humility and complete reliance upon Allah alone. Some people read about the rewards of certain du'as and feel overwhelmed. They wonder how such immense goodness can come from a few simple words. But the power of du'a does not lie in the length of the sentence. It lies in the truthfulness of the heart that says it. When a servant calls upon Allah while fully recognizing their own weakness and Allah's complete power, that du'a carries a weight beyond imagination. One of the most comprehensive supplications is, "Ever living, O Sustainer of all, by your mercy I seek help. Rectify all of my affairs, and do not leave me to myself even for the blink of an eye." In this du'a, a believer hands over every matter, seen and unseen, to Allah: health, wealth, emotions, decisions, future, fears, and hopes. Everything. And when a servant sincerely places their affairs in the hands of Allah, Allah takes care of those affairs in ways the servant could never plan for themselves. Another powerful supplication is the du'a said in darkness, distress, and isolation. "There is no deity except you. Glory be to you. Indeed, I was among the wrongdoers." This du'a is not a formula. It is a confession that Allah alone is worthy of worship, a confession that Allah is perfect, a confession that the servant has fallen short. And whoever calls upon Allah with this recognition, Allah responds not because the servant deserves it, but because Allah is most merciful. Then there are the words that believers return to again and again in moments of fear, uncertainty, and hardship. Allah is enough for us, and He is the best disposer of affairs. These words come naturally to hearts that truly know Allah. They are not said because there are no other options left. They are said because Allah was always the only true option. When trials grow larger, it becomes harder to remember that Allah is greater than whatever stands in front of us. Overthinking often begins when we imagine that the burden rests entirely on our shoulders. But faith reminds us that the burden was never ours alone to carry. There was a moment of extreme desperation in history where these words were uttered with complete sincerity. A servant of Allah stood alone, surrounded by hostility, stripped of support, dignity, and safety. There was no human assistance, no visible escape, and no reassurance from creation. In that moment, with absolute trust, the servant declared, "Allah is enough for me, and He is the best disposer of my affairs." These words were not spoken because of certainty of outcome, but because of certainty in Allah. The believer does not say, "Allah is enough," because they know what will happen next. They say it because they know who controls what happens next. At times, Allah allows the servant to reach a point where all worldly support disappears, so that the heart learns what true reliance really means. When the heart finally lets go of creation, it firmly holds on to the Creator. But here is an important lesson. Allah is not someone we turn to only when everyone else has failed us. Allah is the one we turn to even when everyone else is present. True reliance is not born out of desperation alone. It is born out of recognition. A believer trusts Allah when they are strong, and they trust Allah when they are weak. They trust Allah in ease, and they trust Allah in hardship. They trust Allah when plans succeed, and they trust Allah when plans fall apart. Because even the best planning only succeeds if Allah allows it to succeed. There were moments when believers were told to fear people. They were told that opposition was gathering, that harm was approaching, that danger was inevitable. But instead of fear increasing in their hearts, their faith increased. Instead of panic, there was clarity. Instead of anxiety, there was surrender. They responded not with denial of reality, but with a higher awareness of it. Allah is enough for us, and He is the best disposer of affairs. And Allah describes the outcome. They returned with blessing and grace from Allah, untouched by harm, seeking His pleasure. This is a pattern mentioned repeatedly in the Quran. Whenever Allah mentions reliance upon Him in this way, it is accompanied by two outcomes: the removal of harm, the arrival of benefit. Sometimes the harm is removed immediately. Sometimes it is delayed. Sometimes the harm is removed in a way we do not recognize at first. And sometimes the benefit comes in a form we never anticipated. Allah reminds us that no created thing controls harm or benefit independently. If Allah decrees harm, no one can remove it except Him, and if Allah decrees mercy, no one can prevent it. This realization frees the heart from obsession with people, causes, and outcomes. It shifts the focus from "what if" to "Allah is with me." Allah tells us that whoever is mindful of Him, He will make a way out for them, a way they could not see, imagine, or plan for. And Allah will provide for them from where they never expected. And Allah concludes this promise with words that calm every anxious heart. Whoever places their trust in Allah, Allah is enough for them. Enough for their fears, enough for their confusion, enough for their past, enough for their future. This does not mean the believer abandons effort. It means effort is made without attachment. The heart works, but it does not cling. The believer plans, but they submit the outcome. Overthinking happens when the mind tries to control what was never in its control. Tawakkul happens when the heart remembers who has always been in control. When you cannot see the light at the end of the tunnel, trust the one who created light itself. When you cannot see a way forward, trust the one who makes ways where none seem to exist. When you cannot see the reward in this world, trust the one who rewards in this world and the next. Submission is not weakness. Submission is strength rooted in truth. Say this dual in your personal struggles. Say it in times of communal hardship. Say it when you feel overwhelmed. Say it when things are going well. And remember, Allah is enough, not because everything makes sense, but because Allah does. There is a narration that mentions whoever says in the morning and evening, "Allah is enough for me. There is no deity except Him. Upon Him I place my trust, and He is the Lord of the mighty throne." Allah will suffice them regarding what concerns them, by His will and wisdom. We ask Allah to be our protector when no one else is with us, and when everyone else is with us. We ask Allah to be with us in ease and hardship. We ask Allah for His pleasure in this life and in the hereafter. Allah is enough for us, and He is the best disposer of affairs.